Why do you compare? This is going to be great. Why do
Now
you
I
compare
compare
me to
you to
Donald
Donald
Trump?
Trump because your finger is on the
It's on the
button,
button because my
and
finger's on the
you
real
will
button.
decide. Huh?
My finger's on the real button. So,
Your finger's on a real button. The button that could make me go off, basically. Right.
there you go. We're getting there. All right, we're live, kids. This is awesome. So
You may
we're
be
here.
live. You
We
may be
are.
live, but you are waiting. Now, let me explain for those
Please.
people who are silly
Why
enough
we're
to join the program
doing?
before it started.
Well,
Right.
they should
Okay.
join before it started because we're the
So,
stars. Don't tell Usman. He gets
so
upset.
this is a program about cigars, and you're not
It
smoking.
is.
I'm not smoking. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
smoking for a good reason. I'm not smoking because I'm fasting for Ramadan,
Yeah,
which
like
means
that's a like that's a reason.
That's a reason. You'll find out later on, a few years later
Yeah.
on, if that's a reason or not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
hopefully, a great many years later on, you're going to find out whether
Right.
that's a reason.
Mhm. And when you
um,
die, you're going to find out if it was all worth it. So we got it.
that's right. Hedge your bets.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got that.
you, you do believe in God, don't you?
Um, I believe in an entity. I don't know if I believe
You
in.
might be listening.
It's okay. We play poker on Thursdays. But I'm just saying I believe in an entity. I don't know if I believe in the white beard and blah blah blah.
No,
The CIA did a the CIA did a study. It was called the Gateway Project, and it talked about the absolute. I more believe the Gateway Project that the CIA did back in the '80s with what their report said than I believe in the fables, if you will. If that makes sense.
it doesn't make any sense. This might make more
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
So you and I are not smoking,
Right. I'm doing
but
it because I'm going to be solidarity with you.
what we'll do, we'll import a special guest onto the show who
Ooh.
has just done a Cuban festival event.
This guy.
So that was actually very fast. In out, in out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
To
that's how I hear it. His family likes it. Anyway, go ahead. So,
to talk about Cuban cigars
yes.
as if there are any other type of cigars.
Of course not.
I'm getting a little bit. I don't mean this of the topic. I mean actually of the product. I'm getting a little bit sick of trying bits and pieces of very kindly people are asking me to try certain non-Cuban or New World cigars. And
I'll
I'm
do
being
the New
honest with
World.
you. I'll be
Mm,
very
there you go.
honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing but
Well, Usman disagrees with you. Usman says that the Padrones are like Cuban cigars, the 1926s, and I agree. He likes my CAO Brazilian Amazon, and that's the only CAO we talk about because all the other CAOs are crap. You had an orgasm last year over the Davidoff Year of the Snake cigar, which is
yeah,
definitely a new
but
world.
not nothing since,
No, I
nothing
got that. I'm
since
just
this.
saying, like, yes, most of the New World cigars are crap, and I only stick to like four or five of them. And when I try a New World cigar, I'm usually underwhelmed, and I go back to whether it's I like the Davidoff Churchill ones, the late nights. I like those; they're nice cigars. I'll go to my CAO Brazilians, and I'll go whatever. Now, when I'm out of the country, because I'm not the cigar czar yet, because Trumpy hasn't sent me the contract. Then when I can smoke cigars, Cubans in America, when I'm the cigar czar, and then it'll be much different. And then Cubans for everybody. And I'm talking cigars too, not just.
You know something? You mentioned Trump here.
Yeah.
30 years ago, 40 years ago,
Sir?
the White House. The reason I'm saying this. I was going to say, why don't you just stand outside the White House and campaign? And then,
You can't.
then I had this vision of the White House about 20 plus years ago. I spent
Right.
quite a lot of time in D.C.
Right.
And having spent a lot of time in DC, I would go and grab a sandwich and a
Mhm.
kosher hot dog
As you should.
and stand outside the White House when you
Sure.
could.
Right.
This is pre 9/11. And
Yeah.
I've found on occasions on rainy afternoons that I was the only one standing. There he is, Usman.
There it
He's
is.
truncated the story.
Oh, wait. Oh, look at this. Hey, he's here, kids. Uh-oh. He's here. He's live.
My goodness.
He was here. Anyway, go back to your White House story.
That
This is going to be great. This is going to be one of these
was
shows.
very short lived.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
very short lived.
Yeah. Well, then since it's short-lived, let's
Hello.
just do that. Okay. Look, you're
You guys
back.
making
Look at you.
you guys are making fun of me? What
Yes.
is wrong with you?
Yes,
What is
Stephen
wrong with
is.
Nothing.
you?
Yes,
What is
Stephen
You're
wrong
is.
with
gone.
I heard you, Raza, doing this.
What did I
Steven was
say?
just
I didn't say anything.
Steven was just backing you up. That's what I heard.
If you were listening, I was
I
talking about the
was
White
listening.
House.
He's
I
talking
was
about the White
listening
House.
about I was listening to you saying his arrival is short lived. That's what I heard only.
Well,
Yeah,
that's because you
because you appeared
disappeared.
and you left. You appeared and you left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were there and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are
I'm
now,
you smoking a cigar?
no.
I'm at my mom's house. We do not even think about it.
So no one's smoking cigars on our cigar show today. I love it. That's so funny. That is the
This is
best.
We
That
the
is the
diet
best.
cigar show. Diet
Yeah.
cigar show.
We're gonna
That's kind of
but
terrible.
but you are back. You are back to all the people that are watching live. You are back for the Havana Festival.
Yes,
As much
sir.
as we tried the Cuban government to keep you, and trust me, we did. We talked about stuff on the show
I
last week. I'm surprised you're alive.
I would have
So did some of his fellow compatriots.
I would have
Ah,
loved if they would have stopped me for a week because I feel I need to go back. I didn't even enjoy Havana this much. I was just in the middle of the festival and didn't really enjoy the life in Havana or didn't even really got to go see all the places that one goes and sees. It was so
right.
super packed. So I really need to go back again.
Now I will say this though.
I
There's
if
a video of you
the
guys.
mm-hmm,
Let me just say this about you guys. You sent
mm-hmm,
me a video, which we
mm-hmm,
posted. It was you guys on a balcony. You're overlooking everything, and this is what I noticed
mm-hmm.
in the video. All 10 of you, nobody's enjoying the moment. They're all doing this. They're all posting, and I'm thinking to myself, idiots. You go. What do you go to? Do you go to Havana, Cuba every other week and
this
like
is
No,
enjoy what you're doing?
I suspect that was because that
Yes.
was the first day.
Stephen, I
Yes.
would say
No.
I was
Yes.
actually enjoying the moment in my defense.
Okay.
But there is someone who lives in United Kingdom of Great Britain who actually called me and like kind of forced me why
Yeah.
the and quote unquote why the fuck are you not posting things.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
God.
it's just like a day. I'm just getting used.
Right, right.
Start posting. And I would
That's
really
funny.
like that you now start posting. I was like, yes, sir. And that is
Well,
exactly
that's
when
why.
you
Okay,
caught me
now I
cheating.
understand
Yeah.
why you couldn't enjoy the moment.
So on that day, if you would have noticed, in this entire week, my posting was quite less. It was
Yes.
just like one or two times it was my posts, and most
Sure.
of the times it was just repost.
Right,
The
right, right.
core was because I would just like enjoy the moment at that time, and then when I
Right.
go back, I would like repost most of the things. I
There you go.
posted very less only because I wanted to like enjoy more. And
Right,
the
right.
other fact was that I was not capturing most of the things on my phone, but through a proper video camera because I thought why not we should have some shorts and everything once I'm back.
Sure.
So that work's gonna start soon and you're gonna get a lot of
Nice.
data
We'll put
to
that out
post.
here. Very cool. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad
yeah,
you made it safely.
yeah.
As
Of
I
course.
said, we did call Guantanamo Bay. We did
Mm-hmm.
tell them you were smoggling drugs. We everything. We were on the phone constantly, Viz and I, and apparently they didn't take us seriously. So,
Well, I start telling you all the stories. I'm sure
please.
you would really know what all went. But have we started the
Oh, well, let me do
official?
this then to officially start.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to Habanos Saturday, the fastest growing cigar show on YouTube with over 100,000 subscribers. Come join us every Saturday live. Every Saturday live.
And there we go. And let me just make this statement to all the fans. Since Ramadan is the month of March, the schedule is going to be a little wonky. We're going to do the show an hour later, but the rebroadcast will be on Sunday mornings. So the people that can't join us now because they're breaking fast can watch it Sunday afternoon, their time. It'll go out 4 a.m. I'm sorry, 5 a.m. Eastern time, New York time. So that will encompass the world. We'll be able to watch the rebroadcast every Sunday during the month of March. April we'll go back to our normal schedule. And there you go.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
hopefully from next week onwards, I will be in the normal studio rather than just in the
So you could
makeshift.
smoke cigars. I love it.
Yes, of
His
course.
mom's like, smoke a cigar and die.
The reason I actually asked for later was that okay, we get people used to of 1 hour later, and after
Yeah,
that, from next week onwards, I can actually smoke.
right.
But no more smoke today.
Yes, that's fine.
Raza, what
Yes,
happened?
sir.
Why are you not smoking? You're fasting for a change today?
Oh my God.
Yes, I've been fasting
Yes.
for the last
I was
30
I
years.
was I was missing this riff raff and picking up on him for a long time. It's
I'm
right,
sure you
almost.
haven't been on the show for
I,
like 2 weeks.
I,
You've been
I,
traveling and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I
I
know,
just
I
thought
know.
I would shut up and let you two splendid fellows talk about
Oh,
Uh,
cigar.
here we go. Yeah, because when you
oh,
weren't here for 2 weeks, all he did was I just sat here and looked pretty. I just did my job. I looked pretty all day, and he just went off.
I actually have to watch the two shows from the last 2 weeks because I have been informed that Raza was
Uh-huh.
quite naughty on both of the shows, and he made every effort to make sure that I was pled guilty in the state of Cuba. Okay,
Well, yeah, look, I think we even asked the fans to help at that point. So we were just like, listen, if you want to just tell the authorities where hotel he's at, then feel free.
uh, fair enough.
So,
Right.
yeah. So tell us about the
So,
Havana Festival.
okay. Well, let's say today I'll talk about my experience in Cuba.
Okay. Now, wait a minute. Are we gonna? Because we don't have a thing. All we have. Are you gonna do a Cuban cigar history? Because here's what we have for that. If you're going to, just saying. And there's a name that goes with that. But if you're not doing that, then I'm just gonna. That's it. That's your intro.
Oh, there was an intro. I couldn't see it. Okay, fine.
You can't see the intro.
No, I couldn't. I didn't see anything.
RZA spent millions of dollars having Hollywood people do this for you. Millions of
Into
dollars for
another
that,
day.
and you don't see it.
No, honestly, I don't.
Well, you're missing a lot. Can I tell you, the fans are thumbing up. They love it. It's beautiful. I'm sorry you missed it. It's basically you in a little Speedo running on the beach. It's very nice. You're gonna like it when you see it.
Oh my God, looks like I have to. Looks like I have to watch the rebroadcast. Okay, all right. So today, here's what I'm going to do. Today,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the experience in Cuba, the
Okay.
life in Cuba, and
Sure.
my time in Cuba. Next week, we're going to do Habanos Festival. And the reason I'm saying this is because next week I will be in the actual studio.
Okay.
And I will have access to all the goodies that I got from the Habanos Festival, which I have not till date actually opened. So I
Wow.
was like, we'll do the unboxing and all of that on the show. So that's why I've kept everything aside, and I've
Okay.
kept my temptations in check by not
Okay.
opening them.
Gotcha. All right.
So
So next Saturday we're gonna unbox everything, and for that show,
mhm.
I'll definitely be smoking a cigar if you're in your studio because I don't want you to
every, every,
unbox
every,
without that.
every, everyone must. All right.
Okay.
Now the fun things first. Excuse me more. Okay. So well, my trip was very, very interesting because it's just a short trip. It just takes around 45 hours to reach there from Pakistan. Yeah. So I had to, because the days I was flying out, I didn't have the luxury of flying right out of Lahore. So
Okay.
I flew a day earlier from Lahore to Karachi,
Okay.
which was a 2 hours flight. And for you to be there, like, so I'm counting like right time when I left home. So that was almost what? That was almost like 3:30 p.m. on the Thursday in
Hmm.
Lahore, Pakistan. Left for a flight, reached Karachi, and then there was like a layover of say around 12 hours
Wow.
because I reached there around 7 o'clock. The flight next morning was 6:30. So practically I left out of the airport, went to see my brother, a couple of friends who knew about my adventure,
Okay.
and then came back. I I didn't even sleep. It was like one, two types in the night when I came back, and I had to leave for the airport around 3:30 in the morning. So
And
reached
wait,
there.
I have a quick question, and this is only
Yeah,
because I'm a snob. Did you fly cattle or did you fly in front of the bus?
yeah. Domestic, there is no front of the bus. Domestic is
Okay, what
camel only.
internationally when you flew cattle, 2 hours
Yeah.
cattle is no big deal, but when you went from Pakistan to the land of the smokes, did you fly in the front of the
Yes.
bus or did you fly cattle?
The the fun part is by the time I got everything booked and everything
Okay,
confirmation on the tickets and everything, it was so last minute that it was only cattle. There was
oh,
no front of the bus option
gotcha.
available. Right. I tried my luck while in the plane as well, in case somebody missed or something like that. This just go back where you belong. So I
Right.
did. Right. So the funniest moment started even in Pakistan
Okay.
because the absolute brilliant part is that for Cuba, for Pakistanis, they don't issue an electronic visa like they do for many of the countries. So for
Okay.
Pakistanis, you actually have to visit the embassy and they issue you a proper paper visa on the passport.
Right.
Having said that, the visa is so funny that it is handwritten. So there's a stickers on the
Like Bolivia does that. Yeah.
on the passport, but
Yep.
it is handwritten. And I was like, handwritten? And the funny part is there's a box for a picture next to it. And there was no picture on that fixed. So when I got the passport, I was like, I gave you pictures. There's no. Oh, actually, we stopped putting those pictures on the passport 2 years ago. But since the stickers are the old, so it's fine. Those pictures that you've given are in the file for our records. I said, okay, fine. So luckily I had checked that. So when I reached the Karachi airport on the morning when I had to fly around 3:34 after checking luggage and everything. Now, Turkish was very good. Turkish Airlines is very slow.
Right.
So they checked everything was in the system, visa and everything. And though I go to the immigration, so I can actually move out. And the people in immigration of the Pakistani forces looked at my visa and then they was like, there's no picture on it. That was the first obvious. I was like, that's the embassy. I called the embassy and I checked. They said this is not. But this is the handwritten visa. So I was like, you should check with the embassy, not my problem.
Right.
To an extent that after like 4 or 5 minutes of checking, they started talking to each other. They called a supervisor, said there is someone who wants to go. The only good thing is that whenever we Pakistanis travel, in most of the cases you would see, we would have all our previous passports stacked into each other.
Right.
And when I was applying, I was also told that if there are any previous passports, that should also be submitted along with it. This still happens for a lot of countries where they do not have digital records. Like for
Hmm.
when I applied for or reapplied for my US visa, they don't never ask. They will actually ask, detach all your previous passport, just give us the current passport, and that's it because they have everything in the record.
Right.
So guys for the Europe, but for most of the countries they say put in. So we all of us have actually number one, number two, and number three. So this is my fourth passport, which is like okay, it's fine. Luckily, because there's travel history, so they kind of were relaxed in a way that he's not one of those shady people who would just go and disappear. He
Right.
has a history of living in, and he has active US visas and UK visas and all that stuff, so it's fine. But they started. So finally, the supervisor comes, and the supervisor's instruction was go check with the airline people if
Right.
they have seen this visa before, because at 4:30 in the morning they could do nothing to wake up an embassy or check with them if this is. And it was funny for me because they have nothing in this records. So they went to the airline people, and the airline people said, they said the first question, because I was hearing it, they was like, have you ever seen a visa like this? They said yes. But are you sure that this is an okay visa? They said, yes, we can see it in our system that the ticket was booked and this is fine for us to fly
Right.
in, and even in the Istanbul. The only good thing that worked in my defense at that time is that since I applied for the visa, the only thing that I had along with it when I got my passport was there was a receipt, which was an electronic receipt with a physical stamp from the Cuban embassy
Right.
acknowledging my deposit of the visa fee and the processing fee.
Gotcha.
For some, I would say luck or something. I just kept it along with my passport just to be sure in case I need it. I just recalled that, oh, I have it, and I showed it to both of them. I was like, the airline people were right. I was like, this is the slip. I actually applied. This is the slip. They acknowledge it. It is their thing if they do it that way. And there's a proper visa number. They have a stamp. So after almost half hours of argument and them making me go to the copier, get
Right.
that receipt also copied,
Oh my God.
along with all the festival tickets copied, all the my stay arrangement and everything copied as a record. That's when they actually stamped me to go out, and this was like me going out of my own country. And that's
Gotcha.
when I was thinking, what the hell is gonna happen when I land there? So that's how the adventure started.
Very nice.
Fast forward 6.5 hours, I was in Istanbul, and I had a Turkish visa, and I was like, okay, I will go out. It's like a 15 hours of layover. I'm not gonna stay in the airport. I'm just gonna go out and chill out. I land there. It was snowing with -4 degrees. I was like, okay. So I go to the tourist desks asking that you have a tourist Istanbul trip. So I'm here for that and I want to go out because what they did do is they have a 6 hours trip, which they take
Right.
for people with more than 8 hours of layover. And they take them out and they just make them roam around and so look the city. And if they want to have lunch or dinner, they can do that. And they come. And they say, actually, because of snow, all the tours are cancelled. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then I said to them, okay, then the other option I get is because the layover is more than 8 hours. I can see both of you typing to each other, but okay, fine.
Yeah.
I could actually see the cheeky smiles
Yeah,
as
Riz is saying, and all the fans can read what we're writing. Riz says, "This is such a slow story." He says, "I hope there's a payoff." I said, "I'm sure there is." So that's all. That's all he said. And Ruben says hello, and we just said hello to
hi
Ruben. That was it.
Ruben, hi Ruben, hi Ruben. Okay, okay. So yeah, so for that, I said, okay, then give me a hotel. And they
Right,
said, actually, since there are like 14 or 15 flight cancellations because of snow, so we
right,
are giving them the priority for anyone with the layovers. We're gonna give you a lounge access at the hotel. I was like, that I already have because of a lot of my
right,
other cards. I don't need it. So yes, I spent 16 hours at the airport, found myself a hotel, slept for like 4 hours. And by the time I get to the gate for my next boarding, starts the other fun story. I mean, now they were like, by that time, we were like a few people who I knew, a few friends from Dubai, a
right.
few friends from Greece, few friends from Africa, all boarding the same plane. So it was like a more exciting building and everything. And by the time we all go to the immigration, oh, well, like boarding counter, they say,
Mhm.
oh, security check. And then they say, oh, your visa. This is handwritten. I was
Mhm.
like, okay. So there was another ordeal of like 15, 20 minutes with me bringing that slip again and
Right,
then
right,
taking a scan of that slip again that I actually submitted the whole thing. And then they're saying, so we went on to the flight. It was a 16 hours flight, which was by that time I was super dead that I have no idea for the first 6, 7 hours where I was.
right, right.
But then it was kind of okay. And then we land in Havana. Here comes the actual fun story. So nobody decided to tell me from the embassy here
Right.
or anywhere that when you are going to Cuba, there are
Yeah.
two things that you need to have. One is a visa, and then they have
Right.
something called Gigeros or Deveros or whatever, which is still related to the COVID-19 vaccination and you being declared fit and having some kind of certification of that. And it is like a pre-arrival information that you have to fill in, which is an online thing. Now, because my
Okay.
visa was never online, I was like, so I went there, and nobody decides to speak anything but Spanish there. So I landed and I went, and my friends were like, most of them with e-visas had the e-visas and that thing. And
Right.
then I went to the counter and I was like, where is this? And I was like, what is this? Finally, we couldn't understand. So I tried, oh, I would see. And I said, shit, okay, I forgot to download the Google Translate, the voice translator. I was like, I'll just download it and I will. So to my surprise, there's no internet before you clear immigration. So, so I was actually in the 1940s or 50s. So one
Okay.
of the friends who understood, he explained to them, and she said, "Do you have any insurance?" And I was like, "Yes, I have medical insurance." So I showed her the paper, which was kind of okay. And then she asked him, "Tell him to, once he goes on the other side, fill in this information about it." He was like, "Yes, yes, we have filled." And he said, "Go to the immigration counter." So we go to the
All right.
immigration counter, and the funniest thing is, it was like almost like Pakistan in some cases, because there were a lot of queues, but there were no queues. Whosoever
Okay.
decides to use the might is right was going ahead. Yes, even the front of the bus was with the cattle class,
Yeah.
and it was
It's
just
like
it,
it's
it
like
was
going to Moscow when you go to the
yeah.
immigration area. It's like a stampede.
Yeah, so it was a stampede, like 12 counters out of which only four were manned, and then there were like
Right.
five flights at the same time. It was insane. There was a flight from Istanbul, there was one from Santo Domingo, and all that stuff.
Right.
I see Raza's bringing a lot of
Yes.
spice to the whole conversation of this slow
Yes.
one, but yeah, fine, I understand that one. Thank you, Raza. Thank you, Raza, for doing this. But this is how the story is told, at least by a person like me who's bored like
That's right.
you,
You make sure
or
that you
or,
get all
or
the details here. We're
yeah,
good.
or
It's all
yeah,
good.
or who's just pumped up on some food right after fasting, breaking the
There
fast,
you go.
and the metabolism is slowing him down. Yeah. So after that, almost half hour again. By the time I went to that thing, the ladies again had a conversation, brought the supervisor in. If this is fine, if this visa is okay. Now them at the immigration were confused as to if this is a right visa or not, because they were now used to
Right.
of seeing all the e-visas and not the actual physical visa from their own embassy, to an extent that there was an information. So when went out at the security machines, it was a mess. It was like queues were like coming from all sides, and there were like one machine working with five. So
Right.
it was like complete stampede. So by the time I got out and got my luggage, the luggage was there. Can we please stop this guy from doing all of this, whatever he's doing?
No, no, you were doing good there. Keep going with your story.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Hi, Alberto. If you ever see this, thank you very much. Okay, so now comes the strangest part of the story.
There's a
So when you
strange
go,
part after
oh,
all
of
this.
course, yeah, yeah, of course. There are a lot of strange parts, but this is the
Okay.
strangest part. So
That's true. Okay.
next week I will actually show you the picture also. So you
Okay.
know when you board a plane and you're overweight and you have, so
You're
you're actually
overweight or the plane is overweight?
well, like the luggage you have is more than
I
the
was
weight limit.
overweight. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. So you go there, and the airline would tell you that you are exceeding the weight limit that is permitted and all that stuff. Yeah, this side, Raza, we
Right.
see it. Can we now have the conversation, please, if you don't mind? Okay, right, right. So they will charge you if there is anything there, or you kind of wiggle your way around a request or something like that.
Right.
Have you ever heard of someone being charged that of that excess weight while they have actually arrived in the country and cleared the immigration and have picked up their
No,
bags?
really, they charge you when you get there.
So I went. Now, first of all, I was not, because my allowance was almost like 58
Kilos.
kgs,
Okay.
58 kilos, right?
Sure.
Other than the backpack, right? This was
Sure.
like 2 pieces, 23 kgs plus 8 kg of hand carry, and you can just have something on your personal belongings. So my entire weight for everything was less than like 48, 49 kilos.
Sure.
So I picked them up. The only unsmart thing that I did was that I was like, okay, these are three pieces. Why don't I put them on a trolley? And while I was going out through the green channel, they said,
Hmm.
"Oh, go through the red channel." I was like, "Okay, maybe sometimes in Pakistan they also say, I mean, thinking that you might have something, so they would have said." I was like, "Fine, they will check and they will put it on the machine or something. They will see that I don't have anything to declare, so it's fine."
Right.
But then I go there and I see people with trolleys with big bags and everyone being there. And they're moving slowly. There is one person only for like, excuse me, 20 people. I'm like, okay. So it took another 45 minutes by the time I reached there. And I figured out what they're doing is they're asking everyone to bring their trolley on the weighing machine, and based on the weight, they're asking them, or they're opening it
Uh,
up. I was like, fine. I was under the impression my luggage is in any case lesser.
yeah,
So by the time I went, she's like, "You're overweight." I was like, "How am I overweight? First of all,
yeah.
this is what
Oh, your
my
trolley weight is overweight.
yeah." So the trolley
Ah,
weight was also added. So it was like 68. I was like, and nobody would speak English. Everyone was like Spanish. And I was
right,
like, and they gave me a slip. You go there. And I was like, okay. I thought I'm going out. So by the time I got out, they said, no, go pay there. I was like, what pay? So I went back and they said, pay. There's. So I give this slip of that weight thing that he had written with hand,
yeah,
and they said, oh, $40. No, like 4,000 Cuban pesos. I was like, I
right,
don't have pesos, and what is it for? And Spanish, everything Spanish. I was like,
right,
and then it's like $40. Like $40? Because they were converting through the bank conversion rate, which is 120, whereas the
right,
market rate or the open rate is 330, 340. Fortunately, I had no other choice but to make that payment, $40. I did that.
right.
They gave me a receipt slip,
That
which
was
I took a
nice.
pic. Yeah, well, I took a picture of that slip because by the time I was getting out of the gate, I asked them like, "What is this for?" It's fine, and they took that slip away from me. It's like this is so. I was like,
I love
so
it.
in any case, I went out. I went out, and now by the time I had no phone because unfortunately both of my SIMs were not working.
Okay.
And in Cuba apparently many countries don't work. I didn't know Pakistan SIMs also not work. So they were not working. So I had no connection to call my driver. By the time I saw there were like old style telephone booths there, I was like trying to
Ah,
and there was someone from the airport. He said, "You want to make a phone? I can give you a card." I was like, "Sure." And he asked me like $20. I was like, "No, I just need to make a phone call." And he said, "Oh, I will make you a phone call." I made a phone call. And he spoke to my driver and he told the driver, okay, come pick me up and all that stuff. And by that time, yeah, that's from the first meeting of me and Raza back in 2021, 2022, if I'm not wrong. In February 2022, if I'm not wrong, yes.
okay. We're just trying to make your story
So
more interesting by showing pictures.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I know. It's a slow story, but
No,
it is.
you're doing
When
great.
when you've lived it, yeah, when you've lived it, you actually know.
Right.
So even that guy making that phone call said, "You're not gonna take care of me. I took care of you."
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I had like 300, 400 Cuban pesos left from that Cuban pesos because they took my $40. They first
yeah.
converted them into pesos and then they gave me back the pesos or whatever.
Sure.
So I was just super pissed. I gave those back to him, and that's where I went to Havana. So I called it like getting to Cuba tax. And when I showed it to
Right.
a few of my friends who understand Spanish and all that stuff, they said they actually issued you a receipt which is for if you were overweight while you were flying out of the country. They used the same technique and just a scam to
Yeah. So
charge
they
you
make
more. And a
money.
lot of people, yeah. And so that was my introduction to getting into Cuba.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to a third-rate country. Now, just so you know, Donnie and I have been on the phone all week, and it
Mm-hmm.
looks like next month I am going to be the Cuban cigar czar for America. So
Oh
we won't have these
Lord.
problems anymore. Yeah, and I'll be the guy in charge. So you can go, and they won't charge you. We'll just,
Mm.
there you go. So it's going to be very exciting.
As
So,
long as they don't charge me for even buying cigars, I'd be more than happy with it. But that I know that's not gonna happen. So it's all right.
so, but that's very
So
cool. I mean, I don't think people realize it that when you go outside the United States or UK or a country that has computers, um, that people aren't trying to scam you. But yeah, the people that I know have gone there and everybody out to make money because
yeah,
they have to, and they want
it
dollars because
was.
dollars go
It
much further.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. It was exactly the same story. So that was the day one. And then again, as the day passed, I figured out anything and everything is possible in Cuba
yep.
as long as you're willing to pay money for it. To an
There you go.
extent that I made a factory tour by kind of bribing someone because that was a factory not allocated to me. I did not
Ah,
have a couple of passes for the festival. I was able to find those passes. Someone
right.
helped me. They were very kind. Uh, we paid the full money and all that stuff, but they were still kind to get me those passes because apparently they were not possible.
But here's the thing, if I may.
Yeah, yeah.
Habanos is a
Mm-hmm.
government, for all practical purposes, it's a government company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Habanos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would
Mm-hmm.
seem to me like when we've done work for governments, they meet us at when we get off the airplane to plane, there's somebody there that takes us through everything. You don't put up with this crap. So
Mm-hmm.
if the Habanos people, and we like your
It's
cigars, and the
50.
Cuban government, it doesn't matter. My
Yeah.
point is like they should do something like these are, if you will, our dignitaries, and they should speed you through so you have good stories. Because when you tell this story now, people go, oh, Cuba, why do I want to go to that shithole? Right? They're going to scam me. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. So Habanos and the Cuban government need to work on this a little more, in my opinion.
I agree with you on that part, but to be honest, if I'm telling this story, I can tell you with full authenticity and honesty.
Right.
On that time, it was frustrating,
Right.
but when I now look back, even after a few days, it is exciting and it was an adventure. It was just like part of the whole thrill that was going in. So I'm actually saying it in all the fun parts and on the
So is
fun
getting
moments. But
mugged in New
yes,
York City, but still you don't want to get mugged in New York City, right? You get literally got
I
mugged at the airport by the government. I mean, that's my point. Like you invite all these people from all over the world to come to your
true,
festival,
true,
and
true.
you're the government actually inviting them, then make it so
Hmm.
they can go through
I
and
agree
there's
with
no
you.
bullshit. And if you want
If
them to pay $40 to skim and scam people, then just tell them when you get off the plane, give the guy $40 and let's go.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
that I agree.
one of the advantages of telling this story the way it is, and I was
Yes.
listening very closely, despite the
You,
fact
you,
that
you
it seems
you
I
nodded
wasn't
off
listening
twice.
closely.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things is the little details with
Yeah.
regards the paper visa,
Right.
the little details about no one speaking any English
Right.
specifically because they don't because they do
Everyone
not want
understood.
to. No,
Yeah, everyone
whether they
understood,
can
and then
understand or
they
not,
and then
no one.
they
It's a
knew
bit reminds me a little bit of
they
Paris
knew
when I
how
went
to
there for the
speak.
first time 40 years ago,
Yeah.
45 years ago.
Right.
It's like there is this contempt for the English speaking world. There's the
Right.
contempt there for the because it's considered that green grow kind of language, which is where you get the word gringo from. There is this thing, and now what is for even me for more interesting is basically Usman was traveling back in time, because that
Right.
Mm-hmm.
place. I'm not talking about necessarily the way it looked, but the way it felt was like
Hmm.
this is there. This is old school. No one's going to help me. I've got to just stand on my own feet. I've got to,
Right.
if I'm going to argue, I'm going to argue, and or just go with the flow. And in
Right.
this case, it's quite nice to hear Usman saying that, however inconvenient it felt at the time, when you reflect on it, it's part of the adventure.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's
I've had
like
enough
it's like
adventures.
there's that little danger in the air.
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is
That
the
was
same
it
the
was.
same thing you have. This is the same feeling you have when you first pull out a Cuban cigar from a
There we
box.
go.
Is it going to smoke properly? Is it not going to smoke properly? It's that sort of that bespoke feeling, the bespokeness of it all. That it could
Yes.
go there, but ultimately it has left a sweet flavor, a sweet aroma in your memories, and you have now
If
vented those
if
memories.
wish if I was ever this eloquent and
No, you got me
poetic,
for that. You got me for that.
like we have Raza for that. Yeah,
Yes. And
we agree.
the good thing is Riza told your whole story in 3 minutes. But now, please continue.
But it's not the destination that counts. The journey going
Yes.
there.
Yes.
If you've read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho,
Yeah.
it's not about the last page. It's about all the pages in the middle,
That's right.
Hmm.
and that's what I'm
And
enjoying.
so, if I tell you, by the time I got out of the airport,
Right.
it was well, we landed at
Hang
7:50.
on. Between the what was the total time between you entering the
Coming to
airport
that,
and
yeah,
Lahore?
That's what he's
coming to
coming to.
that,
He's about to tell us.
exactly, Mount. That's what I'm going to. So it was like by the
Door
time
to door.
by the time I landed at the Cuban Havana airport, it was
Right.
7:15. By the time I got out of that airport, it was like 10:45.
Oh,
So you
excellent.
can
Wow.
imagine three and a half hours at that airport. Yes,
Yeah.
but by the time I got to my place where I was staying, it was like 11:15, 11:30,
Okay.
which translated back into Pakistan time meant almost around 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. So we are talking of 3:30 p.m. on a Thursday to 8:30
Oh,
p.m. on a Saturday, which practically means 53 hours.
Oh, excellent.
wow. That's nice.
I
That's
hope
an
it was.
adventure.
You could have made it 52 or 54.
No, I wanted to resonate it with your age, my friend.
Oh my God. I love it. You gotta love it.
Yes.
What
Uh,
is my age? What is my age?
Now I've said it, it's
timeless.
53.
It's
I've said
52
it 50.
actually. Now you've
I know.
overestimated. It's
I
52.
no. See,
You do have
that's
a
why I
birthday
want.
this
As
year,
in
right?
as in Vihike 52.
There
Mm-hmm.
we go. What are
Mm-hmm.
you gonna do this year when you turn 53 then?
That's not
I
Vihike
get
54.
No,
okay.
no,
So,
no, 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 no. We've got a cigar for that. We've got the Romeo Julieta Amantes released this year to celebrate the 150th celebration edition for the Romeo Julieta. But
very nice.
why are we gonna smoke it on his 53rd birthday? Because it is a sobresaliente size, which is a 53 ringgit. So
Ah, there you
we
go.
so we will smoke that on his
Okay.
birthday to commemorate his 53rd.
Very
I've
nice.
got to get there first.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
inshallah, inshallah. Yeah.
We got which we have money on it. Don't worry.
So hang
So
on,
back.
hang on. Now here's the interesting part. Forget all the cigars and traveling business. Yeah.
Mm.
Once you got there, did you have anything to eat? I'm always interested in food. I'm always interested in like you're going. So I've heard disaster stories about the food in. Let me say it in a
Cuba.
nice way. In that particular part of the world, I've heard disaster stories. I've heard
Right.
that
So I'm very.
and as you know, I have been to near that. I've been to both sides. I've been to Miami. I've been to Dominican Republic. Right, Miami is different
Mhm.
level. Dominican
Yeah.
Republic, I've been to a few times.
I would have to give a shout out at this stage. A shout out to my dear friend and I would say mentor or guide in this
Thank you,
entire business,
thank you.
You're welcome. We're here for you.
Laura Buse
I'm sorry. He's not
of
on the show.
yeah, Laura Buse of Habano News,
Oh, there
because
we go.
Okay.
Laura was so kind to me that he had
Nice.
kind of mentally prepared me for any and every shit that can go wrong.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
So he had very clearly informed me, when you are getting off the plane, make sure you have a water bottle on you, because you do not know how many hours you're gonna spend in the airport. It can be at one, it can be four, depending on what time you
Wow.
land and what is the mood. So it was almost 3.5 hours. So I had a water bottle to myself, and I am thankful to him. He gave me a very clear instruction that while you're in Cuba, do not think too much about food. If you are comfortable and if you can survive on rice and beans,
Hmm.
you are perfectly fine. They have some good places to eat and all that stuff. It's dependent on you. And he was kind to tell me all of this because he knew I'm a Muslim. I don't eat a lot uh, of
Pork.
things in any case. Well, pork for
Right.
sure, but not, I don't even eat non-halal food, which means chicken and beef and all that
Hmm.
stuff is what I don't eat that. He knew I don't drink. So it was like one of those things which was a tutorial for me when it came to okay, when you go there, do not get your sim from the airport. It's going to cost you too much. When you go
Right.
out, the driver who's picking you up, he will ensure that he takes you to the place. You get a sim for your own self. He was taken care of. Don't exchange the money anywhere, because you're going to get almost one third the rate. So instead of 120, the market is
Avoid the tourist
330,
traps and all that
340.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So he kind of so prepared everything in that case. So which is why I think I was very comfortable. My brain was very much ready to expect anything and everything that could go
Okay.
wrong.
That's very
So
good
for
orientation.
yeah, so from a food perspective, but in this whole, the silver lining was my other friend, or the friend I've made in my trip, Elio. Elio was the guy who was the owner of the Casa Particular, or the house where I was staying. Elio was my driver, Elio was my butler, Elio was my money exchanger, Elio was my phone guy, Elio was my fixer for anything and everything.
You're basically your Kato Wong.
Exactly. And Elio
Gotcha.
has been doing this and supporting Laurent for many years, because Laurent, whenever he goes and stays in his house, and that's where he had asked me if I could do also. So I think that worked really well. So I went to almost like 4 or 5 restaurants during my entire trip, all the ones that are always hyped up, and we'll talk more about it.
Right.
Because of my own dietary requirements, I restricted myself to seafood, mostly fish and fillet fish. And I would say, except for the fact that I felt most of the times them being a bit salty, I
Hmm.
was fine with the food. I was not fussed about it. My breakfast was really nice, because my breakfast used to be eggs and bread and butter and jam. It was basic
You can get by
breakfast, but
on
I,
that.
I was really,
Eggs and
Yeah.
bread is
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was perfectly fine. I was perfectly fine, and the coffee was very nice. The espresso you would make, but in the afternoon or the evenings, whenever I would had food, it was good. The first day I had pasta. It was very decent pasta. Afterwards, 3 or 4 times I had fish. It was very nice. I had paella with all the seafood in it. That was really nice. One day I had lobster. It was really good. So I would say overall, I don't think food was a problem, unless you're very fixated on something. Food was really decent. And as I always say, if you don't get anything in Spain, or sorry, in Cuba, papa fritas is always the best choice, which is get some French fries and enjoy them, and
Okay.
you'll still survive. So, but I think I was perfectly okay. There were fruits as well if you want to, and I think the overall vibe of the whole place was really nice. So I don't think I felt at any point I was not having right food, or I was having challenges of that type. I think I was very comfortable. I was very comfortable
Good.
that way, and all thanks to Laura and Elio for the help during my entire trip. These
Very
two
nice.
really made it very very easy for me from that perspective. And one shout out I will have to give also to the mentor, tour guide, brother, Hefe, as you will say, Jasim Ahmed, who was the one who ensured that the entire crew that, or the entire gang that went with him from this part of the world, Middle Eastern part, and through that, was very well taken care of. He would ensure that he would tell us in advance what we're going to do, what were the events, what is it that is more appropriate, what is the dress code we should have, where should we meet up. He would ensure that we visit all the nice places and all the places that we should. We were part of all the private huffs and the private parties that were going on, because the whole fun of it was not only the Havanos events, which were regularly done, but
Hmm.
the actually after parties or the extracurricular activities in terms of parties or events that were happening by other Lacasas or other places which were going on. So you enjoy that, and you enjoy the entire festival per se. Having said that, it becomes a lot taxing sometimes, and it was tiring enough that I would say that, except for one day, which was the first day I landed. And on that day, even I did not sleep. So I went home, freshen up, and I said, I'm going out, because I knew if I'm going to sleep now at 12 o'clock in the midday, I'm going to be like completely off in terms of my chart, and my next entire week is going to go. So I stayed up till 11 p.m. on that very day, going out, having lunch, going to the La Casa Partagas, meeting our friends, and just sitting out of which one picture as I just popped up, where I was standing at the rooftop of Kempinski, overlooking the Capitol building in the background.
Hmm.
So I would say it was good. But other than that, it was like a general 4 hours to 5 hours of sleep, and that was purely because of the reason that it was so action packed that now I regret the fact that I went only for a week. It should have been that I should have gone at least 3 to 4 days in advance, or 3 to 4 days after, because this is how I went. There was one day, and the next day, the activities, private activities, and private events started from the La Casa Bonds party to Kirby's private lunch to dinner evening to the Habanos World Challenge and the festival things to La Casa Zoog's party, La Casa UAE's party, and all that stuff, and
Right.
a private secret turf at the Capitolio residence or the VHomus ones. But to an extent that I finished the gala, and after the concert and the gala, when it finished, the only time I had was that I just said goodbye to a few friends, and while on my way to my place, I dropped them off at their hotel, and I went, packed my bags, and I was on my way to the airport. So I think it was too rushed and too tight,
Right.
which is why I still feel that the time was short. And anyone who's going to go in future must plan it in a way that either they are not like me, who want to ensure that everything is on the menu, they go and attend it,
Right. Right.
and they kind of pace it out and they decide excuse me, if they want to go and attend it or not, or they actually spend 3 or 4 more days in addition to the festival, so they actually get to enjoy Havana and the life and few of the other places. Because to my regret, I was not able to go to Milia Cohiba. I was not able to go to Hotel National Libre. At least these two big places I was, or even at Hotel Nacional, I got to go and smoke for like one evening where I would have loved to go in one morning as well to see
Right.
the morning view and enjoy the peacocks and everyone who's sitting there in the verandas in the morning as well, which I couldn't. And that's a shame. But as I said, I was kind of rushed. I was on a time crunch. So I thought and I ensured that whatever I get, I enjoy to the maximum.
Very cool.
So that's that. But the best thing out of this whole thing, I would say, is meeting a lot of friends that I have met in the past, meeting a lot of friends that I have been talking to, or through Instagram, WhatsApp, through Cigar Key Puffs, and anything else, and meeting them in person finally, and bringing a face to the name, and actually building some new bonds. While sharing cigars and memories and all of that, so I think that was something which is the best thing about the whole thing.
Very cool. Very, very cool. That's nice. So now next week, you're going to show us all the
Next, exciting,
paraphernalia that
yes.
you got. Okay.
Mm-hmm,
And there'll be a,
mm-hmm,
so there's a part one. This is like part one of the Cuban
mm-hmm.
story. And then there's a part two. And then next week, will we be doing this? Or are we going to do that in 2 weeks after you tell us all about the Cuba?
I
Right?
have no idea what you played. I couldn't see it again. I will see it
He
in
can't
the
see it.
rebroadcast.
He
Yeah, that's
can't see it.
interesting.
When you
We can
play
see
it,
it.
I can see it. He
I can.
can't see it.
Oh, you
The
know why?
thing
I
is,
Because
thought
I'll tell you what it is because you're playing it for such a short period of time. He's on a bit of a delay. That's why he doesn't get to see it.
maybe
all right,
that's
well, then
right.
here,
Maybe.
let's try. Okay, I tell you what, I'm not going to delay. Here we go, kids. Here's the $12 million short that RZA created just for Usman that he can't see him running naked on the beach. Here's the
Oh
whole
my
short.
God.
Could you see it this time?
Oh yes, now I did see it
Good.
See, because
There's your new
he
intro.
play it and stop it, play it and stop it, and
Yeah.
that way you're not getting it. So this way,
Ah, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. Now I saw it
you
completely.
see the big
Okay.
smile
Well,
that came out at the end, that
Yeah,
cheeky
yeah, yeah,
grin. That I know
yeah.
something that you don't know.
And wait a second,
right.
I'm going to do one better for you. This is what the ending looks like. This is that was the frontal for the people on the podcast that aren't watching on YouTube. That was Usman's frontal shot. And there's nothing to brag about. And now here's the behind shot, just so
Oh
we
my
get that as well.
God.
There you go. There's
Guess
Oh
the
what he
my
ending.
was
And by the
God.
smoking?
way, and
Guess what he was smoking in that last shot? It's not
Partagas
difficult. It's not
Calibras.
difficult.
Partagas Calibras.
Well,
There you go.
culebra. It was just one snake. It
Go ahead,
was
yes.
Right,
single.
And
my
by the
bad,
way,
my
I
bad.
want
Yes,
Ruben wants to say this, and I think this is very nice. Ruben says, I practically live in Cuba because I'm under house arrest at Guantanamo Bay. Well, it is what it is. And he said, Usman hosted me for a few hours. And then he has something about bondage
absolutely.
and chains, and I don't even want to know, but it sounds like you were very nice to Ruben.
Absolutely wrong. Ruben was the elder brother. He flew in
Okay.
all the way from US just for one day, and while
Excuse
he
For
me,
was
I
one
at
don't,
the
day.
where
airport,
in the US? Wait, the US,
yes.
it's 2 hour, it's 90-minute flight from the US. What do you
Okay,
mean?
that's fine. That's fine. The thing
Okay.
is, he could have come for the entire festival. He was not coming for the
Okay.
entire festival, so
Okay.
he just flew in for a day. He was at the
Oh,
airport when he sent me the first text saying, "I'm here. Where are you?" And just 3 hours
okay.
later, we were sitting together, sitting till like 3 o'clock in the morning, smoking cigars, enjoying. And then
Very
the
nice.
next morning, we were like, I had a few things to do. He had a few things to do, and then he just came to the festival with a
Right.
big present for me with some extremely vintage and rare cigars, and I was like, you're just putting me to shame." And because of this
Oh,
entire time crunch, I brought his gift back with me, which I had taken to give it to him. So it
Chris.
was like it was like that kind of thing for us.
And Ruben, when he means that he
So
brought your gift back with you, he means that the money in his wallet that didn't buy you the gift is what back in Pakistan. Ruben says this. He says Habanos taste different in Cuba. Sure, because those are the ones that
Do
are
they
older
taste a
than.
little bit
I
New
am
Worldy
100.
in Cuba?
No, 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 no. I am 110% convinced on this statement now. I
Okay.
was not. I always thought it is just a mythical statement. People say
Right.
Habanos taste great in Cuba or something
Right.
and
Right.
all that stuff. Absolutely not. You smoke any given cigar there, a Habanos or even a custom roll or something which
Right.
was just from any of the rollers sitting out there in the La Casa.
Right.
They were too good. They were too good that one would say, "Wow!" It
Wow.
was like, regardless of whether you were smoking a $2, $3 smoke or a $30 banded smoke, they really tasted something unique and different. And I am fully convinced, to an extent, that on the fourth day, this statement came out of my mouth without anyone saying. I was smoking. I got to smoke one of my holy grail smokes by we were playing this game. A friend of ours whose handle is Three Amigos Cigar Club by the and Arash. He was there. He brought some smokes and we were playing. So I got lucky and I won the Edmundo Dantes, the Mexican regional edition, which was one of my bucket list cigars because I had never seen it or had smoked it, and it
Right.
got ticked off. It was so fucking good
All
that
right.
after half of it, I was just like, I actually sent it to my group here in Pakistan, writing, "Cigars surely do taste better in Pakistan." Also in
In
Havana,
Cuba.
and I
In
was gonna
Cuba.
in
In
Cuba,
Cuba.
in Havana, and I was like, so too great. So I am definitely down with this fact that that is how it is.
Well, I think now the Habanos people are just going to have to invite the three of us to do a live show there, I think. And they can meet
I
us at
agree
the
with you.
gate so we don't have to get fleeced by the customs people because the Jew from New York's
Yeah.
that's not going to go over well. So, it's going to be like, really? You want to fleece me? I'll fleece you. And they all speak English, but we'll bring someone that speaks Pasa de Pepe, por favor. So when they start going, no English, I'll be like, great, Spanish speaker. Start,
There is
there
a
you go.
universal language. You know the universal language.
There you
So,
go. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he did.
So
He learned the universal language. It was $40 US.
at the end of the day, that was the only universal language that worked.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the
you're
only language
lucky.
that
You're
everybody
lucky
knows.
you weren't fleeced for more than $40.
Yeah,
$40
Well,
is kind of is like an
because
acceptable tax to pay.
yeah.
you're right, but the fact that I was not at all overweight and I was being charged for the weight on arrival was like the funniest of the things. I was like, what the hell?
This reminds me. This
So,
Well,
reminds
that's
me of customs in Karachi in the 80s.
yeah,
That's what it reminds me of. So so it's like time traveling, isn't it?
yeah, it was
Uh,
it was a complete time traveling because when I got out of the airport and I was thinking, okay, so there's a car waiting out for me, there's someone. So I went out. I was under the impression because the picture I got about him was of a slightly better looking vehicle, more of an Korean vehicle or something like that.
Hmm.
But when I got out, there was a Lada 1600
Oh,
standing out.
excellent.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. And the airport was full of all these Chevys from the 1950s and
Nice.
the Volkswagens from 1960s and 70s and these Ladas and these Fiat, the Polish Fiats, like small ones. And I'm like,
Right.
where the fuck have I just landed? Is this just part of some
Like a movie
Hollywood,
set. You land,
Yeah,
yes, you land
or
in a movie set.
Hollywood movie or what? But I actually lived it for a week. It was
That's cool.
and I have to say, those Ladas really drive fine in that
Nice.
city. There's
What was
so
the
many of them. There's so many of them.
what was the worst thing that happened in that week? The
Other than you had
downpour.
to leave. Other than you had to leave.
No. Oh yeah, apart from that, yeah. But what's the worst thing?
The worst thing, to be honest, there
The
wasn't
down
any.
point. The down point. Was it just tiredness? Was it exhaustion? Was it an event you couldn't go to? Was it a really bad New
Yes.
World
Oh,
cigar that
yes,
you had to
yes,
smoke or something
yes.
like
Well,
that?
okay, yeah. So the only worst thing that was like the fact that on the Wednesday night tickets were only available for like select 500 people as compared to
Uh,
1,500 people attending the festival, which we already knew. This was like not something that we were not aware of it. We knew about
right.
it. But when actually went there and in that hype, when you see there are some people who are your friends and all of that actually go to that place, and especially when
Right.
it is happening in the Capitol building, it was
Mm.
like, what am I gonna do? So that was a downer kind of a
Oh, you didn't go
evening.
into that event.
No, so almost 1,000 people from the festival, like two-thirds of the people did not have the ticket for it, to an
Wow.
extent that a lot of even official Habanos influencers did not have the ticket for it, and they were not there, part of the event. Um,
And what
and
was the
it
upside?
was
So, and what was the rose? That
The
was the
high point.
thorn. What was the rose
What
of
was
the
the
event?
high point of the whole trip?
The
uh,
singular high point. The singular high point.
Yeah.
the singular high point. Well, the singular high point was very, very interesting and cheeky, and that was being able to go to a Legito factory and taking a picture on those stairs, the memorable Cohiba stairs.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go. We did get to some really nice payoffs there. The
Yeah.
nose and the
Nice.
high.
Yeah, how I was able to get that picture is a story for the later times.
That's for which one? That is for next week when we do the
Yeah,
unveilings and unwrappings.
Upload the picture. Upload it. Upload it.
No,
Put it up
no,
as your
we,
I will,
backdrop.
I will,
yeah,
I
put it
will
up.
do that. I will do that definitely.
Yeah, because if you don't do it, Uncle Riz is going to pop a gasket.
Yeah,
So now next week, kids, if you're listening on the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on the rebroadcast, once again, it's Ramadan. It's a crazy month. The shows on Saturday are going to be an hour later. The rebroadcast will be on Sunday morning, so you can watch it or listen to it then. Next Saturday, though, Usman and I will be smoking cigars. Rizzo won't, but next week Saturday will be the unboxing of all his paraphernalia from the trip and some more stories. So next week's show is
absolutely.
probably gonna
The
run a little longer than usual. So
and the next week's stories will be juicy stories, not the slow
dude,
and boring ones like today.
listen,
Ah,
just
one additional question before you go, and you may have already answered this question. The answer may already be Ruben, who's the most interesting person that you met on your trip.
yeah. Castro.
Of
No,
course,
I'm just
Ruben.
kidding.
Of course,
Of
Ruben.
course, Ruben. It's Ruben.
Of course,
Ruben's the
Ruben.
most interesting person. So there you go.
No, because I'll say it because Ruben was one of those very few people who I was really looking forward to meeting because that was the case. And his arrival was getting delayed because initially he was going to come on Tuesday, then Wednesday. Ultimately, Thursday evening he came in, and by that time I had kind of lost hope if he's coming or not. So
Right.
when he came, it was like meeting for him for the first time, but it did not feel like I was meeting him for the first time kind of thing. So
That's
you're
called the
like
Right.
Brotherhood of Cigars.
brothers.
Yeah, that's what
Yes,
it's about.
exactly.
That's what we
Brothers
talk
and
about with
brothers.
this cigar. That's the brotherhood of the cigar. So
And
now we're
the actual final question is: when you arrived at Havana Airport, did they confiscate your whole humidor of New World cigars before you entered the country?
I did not take any New World with me.
Ah, that's the official line. Yes.
That's the official line.
Well,
Good. We don't want you to then go Guantanamo
that
Bay.
is the official and unofficial line.
There you go. So now, where does Ruben live in America? Do you know?
Florida,
What state?
Florida.
Oh, he
Oh,
lives in
it's
Florida.
Miami.
Oh,
Yeah, and
okay.
he's in
Okay. So
Miami
let me.
actually.
So all he had to do was schlep to the Miami airport or the Fort Lauderdale airport,
Slap to
get
the
on
Miami Airport.
get on an
You could take a
American or a
fastboat.
Southwest.
You could take a fastboat from just Miami and just
Really?
go.
Yeah, you could take a
You're
cigarette boat back in the 80s. But I'm saying all you had to do is schlep from wherever he is 30-minute schlep by car, get on an
from
American or Southwest flight,
Key Largo.
schlep over for it's a 90-minute flight. I mean, like with a tailwind, it's 30 seconds. And
Yeah.
he's at the airport. So I don't, Ruben, we're glad you met him there and you took care of him. But really, at the end of the day, it's like him driving up to Palm Beach to go have lunch or play golf. It's not
It
like
is, isn't
no
it?
big,
It is. It's not
yeah, it's
that
like
far.
not a
Yeah,
big deal. It's
it's
like he
like
could have
that.
driven to Orlando in the same amount of time it took him to go from Miami to get to the airport to do all the stuff to fly over. He could have driven to Disney World. It's the same thing.
Final
It's
question. Final question. Final question. The answer was Ruben for
Yeah.
that one. Did you
yeah.
see anything? Did you go to any place associated with Ernest Hemingway?
Of
Yes.
course I did.
Which was
I went to El Floridita, the bar where they have the Ernest Hemingway's statue on side
Where
of
they
the
call him
bar.
Ernesto, Don
yes.
Ernesto.
Yep.
Very
Anyway, very
nice.
good.
So yes, of course, that was like the day one, right? The day one when I went. So after my freshening up, the first thing I did was went to the La Casa Portugas and the Floridita.
Mhm. Very cool.
So yeah.
Look at what we've
Mhm.
learned, kids. Look what we've learned. You
A
two can go to the
very
Havana
nutritious
Festival.
show. Very
Yes, it
nutritious
was.
show.
I mean, it had a slow 30 minutes in the beginning, but it picked
Yeah.
up at the end. So, no,
Yeah,
this
I
is
know,
very
I
cool.
know.
And for the people that didn't get to go, I think next Saturday's show is going to be phenomenal because not one, your paraphernalia is two more exciting stories, maybe even
It's
some
not
surprise
only
guests.
yeah,
You will
and
see.
it's not only the paraphernalia that you get from the Habanos festival.
Right.
There is so much of love and care
Yeah.
and sharing that happens amongst friends
Yeah.
or
Cigar
people you
friends.
meet for the cigar friends or the people you
Yeah.
meet the first time
Right.
that you don't even imagine. There were like so many cigar exchanges and all that stuff.
Right. Right.
Just as an example before we leave, on the gala night, I decided to wear my national dress, the national
Yes.
formal dress.
We
So
saw the
I was in a
pictures.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was in a sherwani and I wore the Jinnah cap and all of that stuff. And I was amongst that I would call personally the elite club who actually are proud of their nationality and their patriotism that they
Right.
wore the national dress. So there was a friend of mine, well, by that time it became a friend, Khalifa from Kuwait, who wore the national dress from it. And we were thinking that probably we're going to be like one or two more in 1500. And then there comes like two, three of the Kazakh friends. So people
Okay.
from Kazakhstan. Well, again, now I'm going to be extremely sorry if I'm saying wrong. Was it Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan? I have a very strong feeling they were Kazakhstan.
Okay.
So they came and they were wearing the gala dinner attire, but on top of
Right.
the gala dinner attire, they were wearing their national gowns, which are like colorful,
Right.
long lining waist. And like, oh, finally, there is someone who. And we said, come on, guys, let's take a picture. They did not know who we were. We did not know who they were. Just because we all were wearing our national dresses, we said, let's take a
Right.
picture. And we took a picture. Fast forward to 3 hours, one of them comes back finding me from somewhere and he said, oh, come here. I was like, and he's like, we didn't know each other and all that stuff, but when we came, the way you actually were happy to see us in our national dress and all that stuff, and we took a picture, I just thought I'll give you something from, this is not quite from my country, but this
Right.
is a regional from the overall bigger part, and he gave me regional edition from Russia,
Wow.
which I had never seen. And he gave me a Quai d'Orsay from the Russian regional. So I'm just saying this was just like a gesture and the
Yeah.
kind of exchanges you have with people who don't even you know, and that they become kind of your friends or someone you
Right.
are going to make a point to know. And
Yeah.
then there are a lot of stories. I made I met a soul brother of Raza as well, who I'm going to talk about in the
Next week.
next,
Okay.
because his soul is also completely like Raza. There is no
Oh,
gray. There is only black,
black and
there is
white.
only white,
All right.
and then there is no gray.
All
And
right.
then you have to say whatever you feel like comes in your head, and you don't
All
give
right.
a damn about whatever you're
You
gonna talk
mean a
about.
rat's ass?
I was just gonna say,
Oh,
dude, I don't want to be rude or anything, but you said fuck earlier, so really, if you can't say rat's ass, if that's worse
You
than
can
the
say
other,
arse.
I
Arse
mean,
is part of the body,
yeah.
and
yeah.
rat is an
So,
animal.
And I had so much fun with that guy. Like
right.
we met
Well,
almost
put
practically
a
every
name. Put a
single
name to
day.
this.
Peter
Peter,
from Poland. Peter
Peter
from
from
Poland.
Sure.
where else is Peter from?
Sounds like a Marvel sort of
his
a MCU villain, Peter Poland.
Yeah,
and
Peter
his and
Poland. Yeah.
his Instagram handle is Havana's Cigars.
Okay.
So yeah, Havana Cigars, yes. So I mean, we met and we just clicked. Like the first day we met, and it was like a hit. And then we met on the
Okay.
lunch, and then we at a few other parties, and it was like hey, and then there was like going to the bar or the club in the night. It was like so much fun with Peter.
Good.
Wherever we would meet, it was like you've met a soul brother of yours.
Nice.
Uh,
Very nice.
who had no filters.
and really the story that you gave at home to the wife and kids is I'm going to a conference. Basically, that was the story. I'm going to a conference, and this
Really?
turns into sort of like
I
you
don't
must have said,
remember
"Oh,
what are you
I'm going
talking
on a
about?
business trip to a conference. It'll be
It's
some
a
very boring
yeah,
speeches.
yeah.
There will
No,
be
no, no, no.
some
No,
traveling
no, no.
involved."
I was very honest. I just told them I'm going for a Habanos Cigar Festival. You're more than welcome to accompany me. The moment I said Habanos Cigar Festival, what are
It
you
was
gonna
all
do?
off.
Smoke
Yeah.
cigars. So you're
Good
like, yeah,
luck.
get lost.
They don't
Get
care. The
lost.
nice thing is his wife watches all the shows just to make sure that the stories
No,
line
no,
up. She'll be
I,
like,
that's what
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
clarifying. I was
My
clarifying.
wives, my mother, everyone watches that. Everyone watches
the
all
whole
of these
family. Why do you
stuff.
think we have so many viewers?
Yeah,
All
of
Pakistan
course.
watches. I'm aware.
Yes, of
So
course,
you're a
of course.
celebrity. People have to watch you. So they missed
Yeah.
you for 2 weeks. Listen, they got stuck with Riza and I for 2 weeks.
Who was the least interesting person that you met? That was most interesting. Who's the
Not
least
counting the
interesting?
present company that you have on the show, but I mean,
Most
he's talking
boring
about
person, the
Havana.
person you wish you had not met. You thought, right, what the hell? What was
The
the point of
customs
that?
guy who ripped him off for $40.
Yeah, that girl. Yeah,
That's exactly where I was taking
yeah,
that.
that girl who ripped me off.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that's too funny.
With a
So, well,
smile,
gentlemen,
probably with a smile on her face.
with a
Yes,
smile on the
absolutely.
Yeah.
face. Yeah.
No, no, with a grin on her face.
With a grin, yeah, with a shit-eating grin on her face, going, I just
Yeah,
took that guy for 40 US.
yeah.
So,
Usman has to
yeah,
go. I can see the jet lag still on his face.
yeah, he's good. Kids, we're gonna run the ends. Remember we rebroadcast this on Sunday. The podcast will be out Sunday. We'll see you next week at the new time because of Ramadan, and we'll undo an unboxing. There'll be more cigar stories about the Havana Festival. I think I got it all in. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Nice to have you back, gentlemen. It's always good to see you, and we'll see everybody next week. And thank you for everybody for your comments, and we'll see you all later. Cheers.